Hey guys, it's Patrick from Gateway Worship here. Today I wanted to make a video that addresses one of the very common questions that I get, and that is how do I make a high quality demo with some of the limited resources that I may have? Maybe you just have a laptop, an audio interface, a microphone, and really it's a little daunting to make something that is of high quality if you haven't spent a lot of time in some of these programs and with some of these pieces of equipment. So what I wanted to do was make a video that is going to walk you through a little bit of the process that I do when making just a simple demo. That's a piano, vocal, and acoustic guitar. Something that's really easy, really simple. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through that now. All right, well, the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a DAW, a digital audio workstation. For this video, I'm actually going to use Logic Pro. And one of the main reasons that I'm using Logic Pro is that right now they are offering a 90-day free trial, no strings attached. You can use their software completely with all the features for 90 days free of charge. So it's a great way to step into a pro application that can get you some great results. And it's just a very easy transition from maybe someone who's used GarageBand or some of the other more basic audio programs. It's kind of that next step up, but it's still very familiar in a lot of ways. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is after downloading and installing Logic, we're going to go ahead and open it up. Now, the first dialog box that we are going to see is one that is asking me what exactly I want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on Create a New Empty Project. I'm going to hit OK. From here, it's going to ask me to choose a track type to create. So our options are software instrument, audio, and drummer. So right now, I'm going to use software instrument, and I'm going to make sure to scroll down here to the ESX24 sampler and click stereo. This is the synth that I'm going to use that I'm going to get my piano sound from. I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Now, one of the first things that I want to show you when opening Logic for the very first time, if you've just installed it, is how to turn on the advanced tools. Now, in my opinion, the reason that you buy Logic Pro is because you want the pro features and the advanced tools. So in order to get those advanced features, you're going to have to turn them on. It's kind of funny. Logic doesn't actually ship with them turned on. I'm not exactly sure why. But what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to Logic Pro, then down to Preferences and Advanced Tools. And I'm going to go ahead and click those on. So you notice that when I did that, there's these wood bars that were along the sides. Those are actually going to go away. And all of these additional options I'm going to leave checked. So I want to have all the options that Logic has for me at my disposal. Click that out. I'm going to click out of the library for right now. I'm going to label this track piano. What we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the channel strip. We're going to click on ESX24. So this is a sampler synth that has taken real-time samples, put them into a synth engine. And so it has a ton of different sounds that are at your disposal. The one that I'm going to be using right now is this Yamaha grand piano. I think this one sounds great. It's a really great starter piano sound that you can use for your demos. That gives a great sound that just with a few small tweaks, you can be sounding like a really professional piano. All right, next up, I'm going to create two more tracks. The first one is going to be my microphone input. So for me, that's coming in on my second input. You can see my voice popping up and down there. I'm going to label this Scratch Fox for right now. And I'm going to create one more track. I'm going to make this input 1. And that's actually going to be my acoustic guitar track. All right, so after labeling them, I'm just going to go ahead and tweak a couple things in my project in order to match the song that I have written. So the song that I've written is going to be actually at 74 BPM, and it is in the key of C major. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that all the same. Now, before I go any farther, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit save. We want to make sure that we save this in a good location with a name that we can all remember. So, all right. So now that we have those tracks made and we have some of the project settings to the right tempo and the right key that we're going to be doing, I'm going to go ahead and lay down some of my first piano track. And what I do always is I start with one of the instruments so that I have something to sing to. And this really gives me the bedrock for my arrangement. So I'm going to go ahead and play in some piano right now. Always make sure to give myself 2 bars because that will be my count in. All right, so as you can see, laid down some piano there. Hopefully I played it pretty well in time, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and quantize it just to fix some of those little mistakes. Now there's a couple ways that you can quantize MIDI. The first being that you can come over here to the region inspector and you can actually just hit quantize and you can choose your note value. Now what that's gonna do is that's completely at 100% quantization. Now what I'm gonna do on this particular piano track is I'm actually gonna come down here to the piano roll. I'm going to select all the notes, and I'm going to quantize the 8th note, but instead of being 100% strength, I'm going to go ahead and back that down just a little bit. What I found is, specifically on piano, is that when you go ahead and quantize it to 100%, it can start to sound maybe a little bit robotic, and some of those little inflections that you are so natural and so used to hearing when somebody plays the piano for real, you start to lose when you quantize it 100%. So I just like to back it down, maybe 80, maybe 85%, somewhere in that region. So, all right, now that I have a piano region created, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just create a couple markers. I'm going to label this marker CO for count off. And then this is actually the bridge of the song. I'm just going to show you a little section of it, but I'm going to label that bridge. It's a really, really smart idea to try to put markers in your song as early as possible. It makes the recording process go so much quicker, and you're able to find where you're at and able to do punch-ins, punch-outs, that sort of thing. If you need to do copy-paste, it really is just a very simple step, but it makes a really big difference as you go farther along in your project. All right, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a scratch vocal. So I'm going to go ahead and actually import a vocal track that we recorded for this already. All right, so I went ahead and grabbed that vocal and I put it into the place that I think we're going to need it here. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this real quick.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want.
All right, and I just noticed that within my quantization, I had a couple little things that I need to fix. So we actually need to change this to 16th notes because I made a couple little 16th note runs instead of 8th notes. That should fix this up real nice. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a little change to my piano sound as well, just so we're getting a little bit closer to what we want it to sound like. So I'm going to put an EQ on the piano. I'm going to put a little bit of a low pass. Just roll that down a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a listen. Next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, it's right around 1K or so, and I'm just going to take it down probably about 3 dB. I'm going to tighten the Q up just a teeny bit. This might take out a little bit of that harshness that is in that piano. Yeah, that sounded better already. All right, let's go ahead and add one more thing. I'm going to add just a little bit of reverb to the piano. So we're going to come up here to large spaces and then halls. I really liked this smooth vocal hall. This is one of my favorite reverb presets that Space Designer has. I'm going to back down this, so it's probably somewhere in here. Let's take a listen to that. that sounded really, really nice. Okay, next up what we're going to do is we're going to record just a little bit of acoustic guitar. I'm going to go ahead and set that to record enable. All right, looks like I'm getting a pretty good level from my acoustic guitar coming in. What I want to do before I record is I want to make sure that I'm in tune. So Logic has this really easy tuner function. What you can do is click up here at the top, tuner, and I can just go ahead and play. All right, now that we're all tuned up, let's go ahead and record a little bit of acoustic guitar.
So let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want.
All right, and what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to double track myself on acoustic guitar. This is a really common technique that a lot of people use, and it just adds a little bit of stereo width to the entire sound of the acoustic guitar. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play the exact same part, and I'm just going to do it on a second track. So in order to duplicate a track in Logic, all you have to do is Command D, and I'm ready to go. So here we go.
So let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want.
All right, so now that we have all the acoustic guitar parts recorded, I'm going to go ahead and just clean up the ends. Now, a great way to do cuts is to use the marquee tool. In order to get to the marquee tool, all you have to do is press and hold Command. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Same on this side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a couple of fades on the beginning and the end. How you can do that is you can do Shift Control and then click and drag. Again, I'm going to do that over here. So in order to really get the effect that I was looking for with the acoustic guitar, what we need to do is we need to hard pan these. So one is going to go to the left and one is going to go to the right. I'm going to take that off record enable. Let's go ahead and listen to that now.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow.
All right, great. That's already sounding a lot better. I'm just going to go ahead and take the volume down just a teeny bit on the acoustic guitar. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple little processing things that we're going to do on the acoustic guitar and on the vocals. First, let's start with the acoustic guitar. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to use my channel EQ again. And I'm going to do a high pass. I'm probably going to bring this up to about maybe 150 or so. That's probably going to be great. Then I'm probably going to take away just a little bit here in the mid lows. Let's take a listen to that real quick.
Let this vow be.
All right, and we're just going to go ahead and drag that to the other acoustic guitar channel. What I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to open up the mixer in order to do that. So there's a couple different ways to do this. You could press X, and that'll open up the mixer in just the same window as everything else that's happening. Or what you can do is you can actually hit Command 2, and it's going to pull up a separate window for your mixer. I usually like to use this because then I can toggle back and forth between the big windows. And to toggle back and forth, you can just do Command tilde, just like that. All right, so I'm going to take this Acoustic Guitar EQ that I just put on. We're going to copy it over. In order to copy over, all it is simply to hold Option and click and drag over. All right, so after applying some EQ, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and apply a compressor. We're going to come down here, we're going to go to Dynamics, and then we're going to click on Compressor. The compressor that I'm going to choose to use for this application is actually the Studio FET. This is kind of a copy, if you will, of a Universal Audio 1176, kind of acts in that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and press play. We're just going to solo out that acoustic guitar. Go ahead and adjust that ratio up just a little bit. Bring this threshold down. Make the release just a little bit. I think that's about where I want to be in terms of compression. So just a little bit more than -5. I think that's going to sound really, really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that guy over to the second acoustic guitar channel. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to label these acoustic guitar left and then acoustic guitar right. All right, let's go ahead and take a listen. All right, and for those of you who don't really know what a compressor is, what the compressor is really doing is it's controlling the dynamic range of that instrument. And really what we're doing is we're trying to make it a little bit less of a dynamic range so that the guitar can kind of sit a little bit nicer in the mix. All right, now that we've got the compressor all up and working on the acoustic guitar, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of reverb to it as well. Now, unlike how I did it on the piano channel, what I'm going to do with the acoustic guitar channel is actually make it a bus send. So what I'm going to do is click here on bus, and I'm going to go ahead and make it bus 1. I'm going to click Option, hold Option, and then click. And I'm going to do the same thing on this. I'm going to go ahead and label this Guitar Reverb. And I'm going to go ahead and put that same space designer that I had, the same reverb that I had on the vocal, I'm going to put it actually on this guitar reverb too. But I'm going to do it a little bit different on this guitar reverb channel. And what I want to do is instead of making it have the dry signal come in as well as some of the wet, I'm going to make it 100% wet and 0 of the dry. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm doing this as a bus send. I want everything that's in that bus to be the reverb. And so how I'm going to control the amount of reverb that goes into this is actually on the bus fader. So I'm going to take this down. Let's go ahead and listen to this.
This vow be renewed.
All right, I think that's starting to sound really, really nice. So let's go ahead and take a look at our lead vocal now. So we did pre-track this already, and I did do just a little bit of tuning. But other than that, this is a completely unprocessed signal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start again with a little bit of EQ. So I'm going to go ahead and solo out his vocal.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed.
All right, thankfully it was recorded fairly well, so it doesn't need a lot of EQ, but definitely a little bit of EQ goes a long way. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of compression. And again, I'm going to go ahead and use this Studio FET. I love this compressor. I think it sounds really, really great.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you.
All right, so what you're noticing is when I bring that threshold down and when I engage the compressor more, the signal is actually getting louder. And so what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to compensate for that somehow. So what I'm going to do is actually just take the overall fader down.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want.
Now, something that is very common in lead vocal processing is actually to double up on compressors. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this compressor that I've already made, and I'm actually just going to copy it and put another one right below it. So this is what that's going to sound like.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return.
Now, obviously on that second compressor, it's way too much. So what I'm going to do is on this second compressor, I'm going to go ahead and adjust that threshold way down.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you.
Just so it's catching a little bit of the little pieces that are maybe just a little bit too loud, or dynamic range is a little bit too much. Again, I'm just trying to make it so that the vocal is as heard and is well compressed as it can be. So every syllable can be heard.
Let this vow be renewed.
So what we're going to go ahead and do now is just listen to this in the context of the track.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed.
So as you can probably notice, my piano is getting swallowed a little bit. So let's go ahead and add a compressor to my piano. Now what I'm going to do is I want this compressor to be before the reverb. So I'm going to add it into this slot right here. And again, I'm going to go with my same good old trusty Studio FET.
Let this vow.
And with piano, you really can get away with squashing it a fair amount, and it can actually still sound very musical within the context of the mix.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed.
Now you might notice that on my stereo output, I am starting to get a little bit louder than I really want to be. This level over here is getting to be closer to -2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to overall take all of the track's volume down just 3 decibels or so. That will give me just a little bit more headroom.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you.
All right, so next up, I want to add just a little bit of reverb to the scratch vocal. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and just copy this Space Designer plugin right over. Again, we are set on the Smooth Vocal Hall. I really like this plugin, really like this setting. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this.
Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want.
All right, so at this point, I really have most of the elements recorded that I need in order to make this sound really, really great. All right, so the last thing that I actually want to add in here is I want to add a little bit of a pad, a little bit of a synth pad. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a sample that I have made from my Prophet Rev 2. And really all it is a simple 1/5 in the key of C. And I'm going to add a little bit of processing to it, but it's really just to add a little bit of glue, a little bit of ambiance in the background to kind of help bring everything together and sound like it's kind of in the same space a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. All right, now that I have dropped that pad into place, let's go ahead and take a listen to what that sounds like by itself. Sounds pretty awesome already. However, I just want to add a little bit of reverb, a little bit of ambiance to this. That's really going to help things glue together again. So I'm going to come back over here to my mixer. I'm going to send a bus out. We're just going to choose bus 10. And this is going to be my shimmer effect. So how we get that effect is we're going to use a pitch shifter, which if you come down to pitch and then pitch shifter. And I'm going to use the pitch tracking timing, 100% mix, up an entire octave, so 12 semitones. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that just by itself. So you can hear that it's the higher octave of the pad that's already happening. So what I'm going to do is add a reverb to that, and we're going to come in here to Space Designer again. And I'm going to go ahead and use the large plate reverb that is the shimmering plate. Who would have thought, right? Again, we're going to turn that to 100% wet because it's a bus, and then we're going to take dry all the way down. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that now.
So let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want.
All right, so we put a nice little fade in, fade out on that. So that is sounding really, really good. I know this is just a little section of the song, but hopefully it gives you an idea of how to approach each one of the sections of the song. All right, so the last thing that I want to show you is how to do just a little bit of processing on your stereo out bus. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add a limiter. And really what this does is this just brings up the overall level of the entire song. And again, it makes the dynamic range a little bit smaller, kind of like a compressor, but there's going to be a cap as to how loud that it can get. And we want to do this because we want to compete with the volume and the loudness of other people's songs and demos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to my stereo out. I'm going to go ahead and select dynamics. And then under here, I'm going to go ahead and select limiter. Now this plugin can sometimes be a little confusing. So what we want to do is we're really trying to accomplish getting the level of the overall song up to be as loud as other songs that you hear out there on the radio or just any sort of commercial viable song. So how we're going to do that is we're going to actually adjust this gain knob to go up until we get it to be the right output level.
So let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want. Let this vow be renewed. Let my heart return to you. You're all I want.
All right, and something like this, what I want to see is somewhere in the reduction range. I don't want to go much more than 3 decibels. So right now I'm at 4. So I went ahead and backed it down just a little bit. I went ahead and set my output level to negative zero point 0.1. And what that means is that the level of the overall song is never going to go above negative zero point 0.1. This is kind of a great safety level because some people's stereos or MP3 players or whatnot can actually get a distorted sound at 0. And so just going down to that negative 0.1 kind of ensures that you're probably not going to distort anybody's speakers. All right, so that's pretty much it. That is doing a demo in a nutshell, something that's really simple, piano, vocal, guitar. And I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you got something out of it. Let me know if you have any questions or comment. I really do want to be a resource for you to be able to make your music come to life and for others to hear it. Have a great day. See you soon.